What's up guys, Mickle here, and we just got back-to-back massive announcements coming out of Ripple. In this video, I want to break down what just got released because this is absolutely incredible, especially in the middle of the ongoing Ripple SEC case. Ripple is getting sued by one of the largest regulators in the United States, and their business is absolutely booming. I cannot wait to see what happens when we come out on the other side of this case. I have a feeling Ripple has some monumental plans that are about to be released when this case is over, but in this video, I want to talk about what just happened today, as well as one of the most important legal perspectives I have seen on this case as of recent. I just saw something absolutely crucial broken down that makes me more certain than ever that Judge Torres is going to make a ruling in this case that XRP is not a security. Now, this is something I haven't talked about yet. This is something that I believe is an absolute game changer, so make sure to stick around to the end of the video to see that. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Make sure to take a quick second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It's really going to help me out so much. Also, if you ever need a good place to buy some XRP or the Flare token, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So let's start out with the news that we just heard about today, and this is absolutely mind-blowing to me that this is happening in the middle of the Ripple SEC case. I mean, this is absolutely massive. It looks like Ripple is starting another CBDC project with Hong Kong, and this is fantastic. Hong Kong is going to end up being one of the financial hubs of the entire world, and it looks like Ripple is working there at the start, building a CBDC. Now, it's going to start just tokenizing real estate, but I found another tweet actually from one of their government accounts, and it specifically says that this CBDC will also work with payments. One thing I also noticed is that Brooks Entwistle, one of the highest up members at Ripple, was also in this picture, which I just find fascinating. So it looks like Ripple's business is moving forward in full force. They are launching massive products in the middle of this case. Now, one of the biggest things I was scared of when this case dropped was that these different governments wouldn't want to work with Ripple because they were so scared of the SEC. The United States is really the financial hub of the world, and a lot of times if the SEC alleges something is going on with a company, pretty much every other country will just say, okay, we're not going to touch that for now. Now, what we're seeing is these other jurisdictions fully understand that XRP and Ripple are going to be critical infrastructure in our next generation financial system. And they're essentially sticking their middle finger up to the SEC and saying, okay, you can have your deal with this company, but we understand they're just trying to make this financial system better, and we're going to work with them in the meantime. Now, this is an extremely bold statement that these companies are willing to step out of line and do something like this, and I think it really just goes to show how powerful and how important of a company Ripple and XRP are. If this was just some experiment, if this was just something that, hey, it doesn't really matter, we're just going to kind of create our own solution, this is not a risk they would be taking. They have no business just doing this as some experiment or something just for fun. This is absolutely massive, and I am more convinced than ever that when this case ends, we are going to see partnerships that will absolutely blow our minds. Partnerships we could have never imagined before, and the only reason they haven't come out yet is because not every country is going to be this bold. Some of them are going to want to be a little more conservative, and I have a feeling as soon as this case is over, we are going to see some massive institutions and some massive countries coming forward and saying, oh yeah, by the way, we're working with Ripple too. It just makes me all the more confident in Ripple's business strategy. You rarely get an opportunity to invest in an asset like XRP, something that is transforming the world, something that is getting mass institutional adoption, but something that is also having its price suppressed by a BS case. It really reminds me of Tesla back in the day when I made a ton of money investing in Tesla stock and they had the ongoing SEC case against them. Everyone was calling Elon Musk a fraud. Everyone was saying that Tesla was going to go out of business, and meanwhile it just created pressure against Tesla's stock price, so those who were confident could pack their bags before an explosion. I feel like we're going to see the same exact thing with XRP. This SEC case has dominated the headlines, but in the background things like this have been happening, and this is just so exciting. I cannot wait to see who steps up once this case is over. Now, with that said, we actually got a brand new interview of Brad Garlinghouse earlier today, and CNBC has really been covering Ripple recently. I want to play you this interview of Brad Garlinghouse. Whenever he does an interview, I always like to show it to you guys because I think Brad Garlinghouse is one of the best CEOs out there. I like to listen to everything he says. So listen up to this, and if you guys missed my video yesterday, know that this interview right here is actually about a company Ripple just bought for $250 million called Medico, and I'll let Brad Garlinghouse take it from here.
Given the fact that there's a lot of caution out there in the investor community after a number of high-profile collapses in the crypto world, by getting in on the infrastructure more, are you trying to iron out some of the risk and volatility that's associated with this sector?
Well, I think at its core, this is a bet about the long-term view of where digital assets and blockchain technologies are going to change how financial institutions manage and certainly transact. At the core, we think there's going to be a lot of examples where through tokenization, you're going to see assets that we think about trading today that are tokenized. And institutions need to think about how they store digital assets today, known as cryptocurrencies, but also those tokens of the future. BlackRock's CEO, Larry Fink, talked about this being a multi-trillion-dollar asset business. And we think it's going to continue to grow. It's a great fit for us because it's really where Ripple has been throughout our history of focusing on infrastructure and solving real problems for real customers.
A few years ago, back in 2020, you had a bit of a run-in with the SEC. Medico is based in Switzerland. It's got non-US employees, as far as I know. Was that part of the appeal, given that US regulators are cracking down more and more on cryptocurrency companies?
Well, look, I think it's fair to say that the U.S. has made it as confusing as possible as to what the rules of the road are for the crypto industry. And frankly, it's why you're seeing entrepreneurship and investment flowing into other jurisdictions. Certainly, Europe has been a significant beneficiary of the confusion that has existed in the United States. And yes, as you described, the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission has really been at the forefront of that confusion. And unfortunately, that has encouraged companies like Ripple to invest more outside of the United States. About 95% of our customers are non-U.S. And this year, most of our hiring will be non-U.S. for some of those exact same reasons. Ripple, prior to this acquisition, we have about 800 employees. Medico has about 100 employees, as you described, almost all outside the United States, primarily in and around Europe. So we think it's a perfect fit, both from the type of customer, where we're trying to grow, where our customers are today. And so we're certainly very excited about it.
Brad, what should the post-FTX regulatory framework then look like for cryptos and governing cryptos?
I think it's a really important question because I think we conflate what happened with FTX as a crypto problem. And really, look, from my point of view, at its core, what happened with FTX is called a fraud. And frauds happen in lots of different, unfortunately, asset classes. It's not, unfortunately, specific to crypto. But when I talk about providing clarity and rules of the road, the rules of the road for FTX were clear. They just broke those rules. The challenge here in the United States, where Europe really has provided leadership, and countries like UAE, certainly the growth you're seeing in Dubai, but even the UK and Singapore, they're providing the clarity about how they will regulate these digital assets. And that allows, through those rules of the road, that allows entrepreneurs, that allows investors to go engage constructively with regulators. And again, the reason why Medico has been such a perfect fit for Ripple is from its beginning, it's been focused on infrastructure, enterprise, and working with the regulators. These are all regulated entities. That's true of Ripple's customers today, and the reason that we think Medico is such a perfect fit, and we're willing to pay $250 million, was because they also have that same DNA and that same ethos of focusing on an enterprise customer, working with regulators, and really being very global from the start.
Now, I want to finish this video off and talk about something very exciting that just came out of Judge Torres' most recent ruling. And this is actually one of the smallest, most underappreciated, most important things I've seen in a while. So what this is actually a direct quote from Judge Torres. She says, ODL is one of Ripple's main lines of business. Now, this is extremely interesting because this language right here tells me that Judge Torres is going to make sure she does not hurt Ripple's ODL product. Now, this is On its face, very important because obviously ODL is one of Ripple's most successful products, so we don't want the SEC calling ODL transactions securities transactions and breaking that product. But maybe even more important than that is the entire issue of whether or not Judge Torres addresses secondary sales in this case. Well, according to Bill Morgan, he's a lawyer we talk about all the time on this channel. He does a fantastic job. If Judge Torres goes out of her way to say ODL transactions do not violate securities law, she is essentially making the point that XRP itself per se is not a security. And this will give us the clarity we need to say XRP is not a security, and Judge Torres doesn't even necessarily have to make a specific comment on XRP being the security. She can just say Ripple's ODL transactions do not violate securities law, and boom, XRP is not a security. I think this might be the most likely outcome, and what we know from the language Judge Torres is using in this ruling is she is not going to call ODL transaction securities. She says right here, ODL is one of Ripple's main lines of business. She is not going to say something like that and then say, okay, well, this business line is gone. You're screwed, Ripple. That is not the type of judge Judge Torres is. I have a feeling we are queued up for a very, very big win here. ODL transactions will not be securities, and that means XRP is not a security either. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does mean so much. And for now, Mickle out.